Hi guys, I'm Dan at vintagevello.org and today we are taking a look at vintage cycling clothing with an aim for riding through winter. We're going to look at layering up and how to try and keep the extremities warm over those cold winter months. Now, first off, winter riding. If you're like me, you want to get out there and ride all year round, you're going to encounter this, but please don't look like this. Okay, so we're going to avoid looking like that and we want to look cool, and vintage kit is really cool, warm over winter. And now when I say vintage kit, I much more mean 80s and 90s kit. Before that, wool, yeah, tricky. Maybe not for winter, not best suited. It keeps you warm, but if you start getting wet, big problems. But 80s, 90s kit, fantastic. Now, I do like to ride throughout the whole year, and over the time I have tried and invested a lot of money in new winter thermal kit to see me through, and I've got to be honest, ultimately very, very disappointed with the way that new kit goes. For example, I have here some very nice thermal bib tights. They cost proper money. They were good for a couple of months, and then they the material went a bit tight. I don't quite know what happened. I was washing at 30 degrees, so it wasn't like they were getting overly heated or anything like that, but they just got really tight on the thighs. And they just got worse and worse to the point where I couldn't ride them anymore. Also, for example, I'll just grab it here. I have here a box full of some winter. I think we've got here some socks, some thermal gloves and a thermal base layer. These came direct from wiggle.uk here in the UK, and they are so thin. They have no thermal attributes whatsoever. And you'll notice I still have them because Wiggle's customer service and returns are so appalling, I can't send them back. So, you know, they're still here, who knows. But word of advice, wiggle.co.uk, no, don't use them because you can never return anything, even though they technically have a returns policy. So let's get straight on. And what we're going to do, we're going to break this down into 3 temperature categories: 10 to 15 degrees, 5 to 10 degrees, and 0 to 5 degrees. And we're going to look at how we can keep warm and wear the right vintage kit for those temperatures. Now, first off, 10 to 15 degrees. It's pretty simple, this one. There's one thing that really makes a difference, and that is these. I've mentioned them before on a video or two. These are Under Armour weightlifting tights. They are very, very good. They really keep your legs warm, keep the chill off, and they are incredibly supple. It really is like not wearing anything on your legs, and they do work really well at that 10 to 15 degree level. Pop those on underneath your regular bib shorts over the top, and then team that probably with just a cotton long sleeve, and then either a long sleeve jersey or your regular summer jersey. If you do that, probably a second one of these underneath or a short sleeve will do the job absolutely fine. We'll come on to feet and hands in a moment, but yeah, 10 to 15 degrees, not much of a problem. Now, 5 to 10 degrees gets a little bit more, you need winter thermal kit here, and it's just like this kind of stuff here. What I have on are some period Banesto tights with the little loop over the feet, and a regular long sleeve Banesto top. Now, this doesn't have thermal cuffs, doesn't have a thermal layer in it. It's just a nice top that does a reasonably good job of keeping the chill off. Again, I would team that with at least one cotton base layer, just simple cotton t-shirt there, long sleeve, maybe with a second t-shirt underneath. Also, I may go for bamboo for my base layer, or an Under Armour base layer. All of those are really, really good. Level with you, wicking base layers, I've tried loads of them. They just get wet. I haven't actually found anything that allows you to wick moisture, body perspiration away and keep you warm at the same time. So I just kind of live with a little bit of it. The more layers you put on, the more chances the layer to your skin is going to get damp. But it all depends on the effort you're putting in. If you're doing hill repeats or interval training, yeah, you're going to sweat no matter what happens. But if it's just tempo training, you should be absolutely fine. I tend to find for a good hour and a half, multi-layering with cotton is absolutely fine. Just my bottom layer might get a little bit damp, but I can live with that as long as I am nice and warm. Now, 0 to 5 degrees. Now for this, we need to keep an eye out. So what we've got here are an example of 2 US Postal tops. One is perfectly good for that 5 to 10 degrees. Although it's a long sleeve top, there's no thermal layer. It's a single layer top, no problem. Now, for those cold weather, 0 to 5 degrees, I recommend one of these. Now, these are like thermal jackets. You can normally tell what you're looking at. The difference being you get a cuff, a nice big flexi cuff here. And then when you look inside, you've got a thermal layer, but it's actually a secondary thermal layer. And those kind of things keep you much, much warmer. Zip all the way down the front. My personal favourite for that 0 to 5 degrees, I've got a full set of a Mercatone Uno winter jacket and bib tights that are lovely to wear. I haven't got them here, but there should be a picture of them on the screen now. They are awesome. One word of warning, if you're layering up and wearing the full thermal jackets, they do an exceptional job of keeping you warm. But above 5-6 degrees, you've got to be careful. You can start to overheat and you're going to get very, very damp with moisture and sweat underneath. And I have, wearing that Mercatone Uno kit on a Sporty before, started to get dehydrated because I was so hot underneath when I wasn't expecting to. So do be careful. Really, that kind of stuff, 0 to 5 degrees, is what they really work well at. Below 0 degrees, go on the turbo trainer. I personally don't take the risk of ice and falling off your bike. It's just not worth it. There's a time and a place for turbo, and 0 degrees is pretty much where it is. Anything below that, I know plenty of guys do ride at that time. Kudos to them. Me personally, that's a no. Now, let's talk about extremities. Okay, hands. I don't tend to suffer too much with cold hands. Plenty of us do. It tends to be my feet that get it. But I have 3 types of winter gloves that work a treat for me. Let me take you through. So, that 10 to 15 degrees, a regular kind of lightweight thermal cycling glove, I find for me works really well. And they are supple, they're easy, changing gear, no problem. But that's the 10 to 15 degrees, not too tricky. When it's really cold, that 0 to 15, what I have here are some Fiandra winter mitts. Now these are full on, like super insulated, waterproofed, excellent winter gloves. That 0 to 5 degrees keeps my fingers toasty warm. They are very, very good, but they're a bit clunky, quite hard to change gear, and they're not particularly comfortable to wear the actual feel, but they do the job really nicely. And what I've found, for that 5 to 10 degree mark, it's a bit tricky. I don't want a massive full-on thermal glove, but at the same point, the thin ones leave my hands far too cold. So I've kind of gone away a little bit from the cycling market, and I like these. These are sealskins. They're made and designed for the diving industry, for being on a dive ship or a boat, and you're handling on the boat the dive equipment, the bottles, things like that. And so they're not for going underwater, but they are for deck work, and they are excellent. We get an awful lot of grip, very, very grippy, but they are surprisingly soft and easy to wear. There's a lot of compliance in here, and that does make changing gear very, very easy. But they are also really thermal. So 5 to 10 degrees, these are fantastic. Yeah, I do feel maybe the cycling industry has ignored hands a little bit on that 5 to 10 degree area, and could learn a thing or two from the dive industry. So sealskins, yeah, highly recommend them. Look them up online, eBay, they're everywhere, but they are excellent. Now, feet. Feet for me are a problem. I am a tall chap, I have long legs, and my feet can get very, very cold. And when I say being very cold, I mean the numbness will start on the toes, it'll then work its way up through the heel, and many times it's gone up almost into my knees, and then warming up, getting in the shower afterwards is agony, chilblains. This is not what should happen when you are out riding. Okay, so I have tried an awful lot of remedies for this. The first thing, let me just get these up. These rather enormous things these are Shimano, but they are a dedicated winter cycling shoe, and I can't recommend them. They're not very good. They are clumpy, they are heavy, they are uncomfortable. They kind of keep your feet warm, but not that warm. Yeah, no, just not good. In fact, recently I was having a chat with Ollie Bridgewood, GCM presenter, and a few years ago he used to write for Cycling Weekly, and he did a review on a whole bunch of these kind of shoes, and they were all rubbish. He thought it was something to do with ankle articulation or something like that, but they just feel awful. So, you know, they kind of keep your feet a little bit warmer, but are they worth the money and time and investment? No, we can do better. What I like is a simple toe insulated overshoe, a little toe mitt. For want of a better word. These do the job nicely. Your regular summer cycling shoes with that on just to stop the airflow, or a full overshoe, a winter overshoe is also very nice. One word of warning with a winter overshoe: each time you come back from a ride, take it off your shoe. They don't breathe very well. So what happens is, you know, you get back, you're cold, you're damp, maybe it's raining, and then you put them away in the cupboard. And then what you're effectively doing is putting on a slightly moldy, damp shoe before you go out for your winter ride. So just a little bit of thought about that. And when you come back from your ride, you've got to dry those things out, get them apart. But a little toe booty like that for me is the first start of a nice warm foot. Plus, then on top, I find simply 2 or 3 pairs of relatively new, soft cotton sports socks do the job of trick. Now, the trick is they've got to be relatively new. After a season, they're going to go a bit hard, a bit thin. That's fine for wearing, but no good for thermal. So we want it nice, relatively new, fluffy, good thermal sports socks. 2 of those, or 3 if it's 0 to 5. Do the job nicely. Merino wool, I have tried several pairs. I'd think they'd be better. They're great when they're new, but after a handful of washes, maybe I'm not looking after them well enough, but I find they kind of go a bit hard. They lose their supplety, and I've never found them actually that warm. But I know plenty of guys swear by them, so I'm sure I'm wrong there. Okay, and also, I did try these. These are USB rechargeable, thermally heated, electrically heated socks. Now, when I got these, it was like, brilliant. Now, these I'm sure will make a massive difference to the temperature of my feet. So this is going to be excellent. Now, there is a problem. They heat the toes, which in itself you would think would be a great thing. But what happens after a while, you have cold feet with cold blood pumping through to hot toes, or hot heated area, and after a while it's actually really, really painful, and it's probably not a good idea. So when I wear these, it's only when it's absolute coldest, and I would have these on the lowest setting. They normally are 3-stage adjustable. The lowest, coolest temperature is the one to wear these on, otherwise they are exceptionally painful. Yeah, they're good, but they're no real solution. So like I say, regular shoes, overshoes or toe boots, and then 3 pairs of nice, fresh, fluffy sports socks will do the job. Or at least it will keep my toes relatively warm for at least an hour. By an hour and a half, my toes will still be going numb, but at least the rest of my feet will be okay. So, on to the last thing, the head. Now, if you've got hair, and now for sure, if you're bald, you're going to want a full skull cap. Okay, if you've got hair, I find for me, I have no problem at all. As long as I've got a cap or a bandana on, my head stays warm. I don't have a problem with that. My hair is not particularly long, not particularly short, but trapped in there, it actually does a really good job of keeping my head warm. You can also go with, and I would recommend this only on the really cold rides, a buffle. Now this goes around the neck, you pull it down, sits around here, keeps your neck and throat nice and warm, and then you can pull it up over the ears or mouth if it gets really bad. Normally that's when it's damp. If it's dry, I wouldn't bother. But buffles are very useful for keeping that neck and throat area warm. But other than that, I wouldn't go too crazy. I sometimes see people with scarves wrapped all around, hats, ears covered up. Me, I like to keep the ears open because I want to hear drivers coming at me or whatever's going on around me. I like to be very alert, probably because I ride in the UK a lot, and the drivers don't like cyclists. So you kind of have to stay alert all the time. Anyway, there you go. I hope you found that video useful. You can stay warm and look cool in vintage gear at the same time. Just takes a little bit of thought before you go out. Do like and subscribe to the channel for more vintage bikes, bike builds, and anything that's cool to do with vintage bikes. Thanks a lot.